Okay, hello. So in 2006, there was a Connecticut District Court case, and there were a whole bunch of other different unrelated cases leading up to that and in it that are recorded and involved with a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method that American history is really about. It is a sorting containment method, sophistication of sorting containment method, and containment and collusion cover-up roles, needs and natures, uses of each identity grounds, let alone its value/value progression of as us. See, but this is with opinion natures manifest, all dishonest, in relationship to passions and emotions, and preventing anyone free speech who's actually with integrity, who could demonstrate, because all that it shares is uses of passions and emotions perpetually to get over. For example, we have Wethersfield police, and we have courts that distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, they pretend, oh, I don't know about that, I'm just dealing with this issue here. And they use their roles dealing with issues to fabricate fake audio, fake video, to coerce, and having coerced people to roles with realized and unrealized, because they just attach everyone to fake locations, fake words, fake sequence relationships, tied to how they have to hide their roles with uses of identity. For example, we have takes on what algorithms are. The experts on knowledge are you being used to get over on correlation nature, which is the algorithm /S, correlation nature itself, and nature as identity, which is its simultaneous identity of relationship to positive and negative simultaneously. So, the principles of math, you don't have to be an expert on them to know, and to have the means to prove that the reason and the way math works is because how one identity, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that are those as one identity of volume, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, as value as nature / nature as value, with the slash as a simultaneous. This is about the invisible but still discernible. It is about invisible but still discernibly distinct identities of invisible, natures of and extents of it. For example, there is the completely invisible but still discernible, the semi-invisible but still discernible, and the invisible but readily manifest. So easy, we agree it's discernible. Like the subject is invisible, we know it's we're agreed discernible, invisible nature of identity. All the identities of English grammar's parts, individually and grouped /grouped. To explain them, they are one identity's identity of relationship to itself. To explain sorting, to explain how a computer works. Not only do they put the identities of information connected to identities of computers, connected to identities of individuals, group, software types, and together. See, but what they are together as now, for example, with treatments of time, standardized. Oh, you have to have a standardized. Well, yes. But see, forever nature's course is correlation natures, algorithm /S. It's one thing to be an expert on algorithms, but to use that to get over on correlation nature, for example, too, there is not one person who considers themselves black or white or whatever that has not been using culture through the method, self-value, as uses of it that were employed by a breaching method to be self-value. And it's all right if people want to say, oh, well, that's your opinion, let's just agree to disagree. But that is offensively being used to demonstrate. That means that is actually recorded being used to keep all locations, areas, and states offensively pretending to be positive and negative simultaneously in collusion with misprisioning identities of branches of government, not just branches of government, individually grouped and together, as hundreds of nations at once, the same exact sick thing. Now they also have crime methods pretending other offensively. Self-valued roles originally still with all locations. They have crime methods of pretending not to realize it, but by pretending others have conspiracy theories. It is recorded that that's what they are doing with a number of people with the name Sullivan, who are involved with all along Farmington Avenue through time in Hartford, Connecticut, where the Harriet Beecher Stowe Mark Twain house are, and down the street to a lawyer's office, and the locations on off that location, the former director of the FBI's lawyer, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, Robert Cheverie, his offices, and roles with people from my town, Wethersfield, Connecticut, interbranch and foreign, recorded involved with that location, and all locations individually grouped in together, where and how hundreds of nations are in collusion with another nature of organized crime method. I'm not a lawyer, not a police form, not a criminal. There's also evidence that and how the same way originally and still we had lawyers employed to fake sides of correlation nature. For example, we'll examine proofs. So we're going to take counter positions and counter positions to call out all those being exploited, and exploiting everyone. In other words, they're preventing free speech offensively per crime methods with investigators and investigations, and crime methods individually grouped in together that the branches of government are using and having used through time. Their motivations for roles with this, for example, is relationship to how the campuses of each age and nature, intercities, are maintained worse than just interstates and worse than just internations criminally foreign influenced, and kept needing to hide the same finite, active, and progressive lies, and identity thefts, frauds, and worse than war crimes roles, and lies, needs, and natures. So even though we have people that will just sacrifice their lives for blind hierarchies, convictions, and fact-cheating nature qualities that were and are naive, those opinion natures are still, all the sciences distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously are recorded uses, not using their knowledge of things more in simultaneous in relationship to if you're an expert on something, you're going to deal with it more. They've been using that to make things up, including with computers. Because since before computers, this was already a sorting method with databases. This was already engineered to be an identities of the ground, stewardships of the republic, criminally foreign influenced, with nature demonstrating that, with negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, acts like predicate acts, natures like criminal insidiousness natures, wrongdoers, wrongdoing itself on a mass scale, And see, they knew that that was going to cause and keep more and more negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, and demonstration of it, and that they would already have had, which they already did have, maintain manifest needs for each person rolls with that, which is every single person forced to rolls with that. Colonists A through Z, tribal members A through Z, nations A through Z, forced to collusion with that organized crime method that took them away from their actual identity of relationship to their actual value of ancient Campus Marcius, of ancient Republic, of ancient native identity of the grounds, identity of relationship to itself, that the ancients revealed would cause positive value nature progressions, acts and natures, and fruits and gifts from as means out of nowhere, or it would demonstrate the same identity of relationship to itself, forcing it away if we use other than that system, its identity of relationship to the ground that is native pure, which is which is a value progression distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, while it is completely the value of /s of modern computers' value nature systems, and as them. Now, see, they could debate this, but they can't do it without being self-valued, criminally foreign influenced database relationships originally and still, as those that are employed to effectively originally and still. All investigations and investigators, self-defended, can't simultaneously do that and tell about what American history is really about, because this is where and how they used and use each identity of the ground, location, area, and state, criminally foreign influenced, hundreds of nations at once, needing to pretend having self-valuing that already has been the case. So they've been hiding lies per the roles with all the roles juxtaposed with the illusions tied to the breaching method employed, and locations formally private, overt criminal enterprises, and everybody with and as that each age of correlation nature. Everyone, small world, big world, always used to worse than just obfuscate the identity of relationship to itself that is not contained and actually in demonstration to all people at once. All questions of math are about this identity, its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. But see, we have the value of identity thefts and frauds. We have clowns, and or we have people who are sick pretending the opposite of that is integrity, or is with no. We have justice used with physical delusions, originally and still. For example, as is discernible simultaneously when anyone has made opinions about what color is about, simultaneously what Jim Crow laws were about. They pick what to use for correlation by as prejudice, rather than the organized crime breaching method itself, rather than the predicate acts delivery system method itself. So when I say we have worse than criminally incompetent identities of law and organized crime countering bodies, this is recorded always true. And where and how all there are exceptions to it, all exceptions in exception nature are also in demonstration of it. For example, uses of the blind sacrifices of our service people, of our healthcare location stewards, juxtaposed with people recorded originally and still involved With inter-experts, everyone's forced to speak through other people. That exploited. So it's already people that our experts want to make opinions. That's why we also have to counter them forging names and switching names. Because what is actually recorded is everyone criminally speaking through other people. Forging names, switching names. Everyone attached to this whole fake world in databases. And with its conjunction to roles with this vertical and horizontal database organized crime method that is connected between each identity ground relationship. Further intercampuses of each agent nature by the same organized crime method that everyone rolls with. This was here as sophistication since before our founding parents were even born. This was already entrenched in the modern nations that had formed before they were already already realized manifest roles as the surface identities with the fact achievements and the fact achievement natures then and now with regards to them and to their relevance as evidence, as the substrate of this identity of value/value progression. That identity is, that computers are actually about, that identity is actually about. So it is necessary to have means to peacefully counter delusions, wrought sciences, delusions, wrought branches of government that are also criminally foreign influenced and having been already participated with criminally foreign influence acts and methods that are also actually recorded. So we have to have mandated law followed. So they have a Sullivan family of police forms involved with F.B.I. and with CIA, involved with the Wethersfield police, and with foreign and domestic medical families, forging names, switching names. Predicate acts, roles, and methods with judges of various natures of courts, recorded using crime methods of saying fake things out of sequence, but the pretending evidences by just saying fake made-up things, hiding their roles actually recorded also with their family members, with uses of Facebook, for all kinds of natures of organized crime bound, and exploited intercities on off campuses further and further off them from having been self-valued, from off the campuses further and further on off them criminally foreign influenced. All programs of each age, nature, private, formal, semi-formal, interbranch, intersciences. This is all affected, this is manifest in relationship to all along roads and routes. People's fact-achievement nature, the responses to what she says when they come in contact with people. That is employed by a breaching method to keep the sense and sensibilities, to use Jane Austen's phrase, to use a human, I'm not using her phrase, you are using real science. What is true always, not denying exceptions and as them while it is true at the same time. See, this does not deny the finite, as which is overtly denied and forced to be self-value denied. Also forced to be forced to be roles, fake sides, blaming the cause of that other things others themselves. What prevented Martin Luther King from having the value of the order of the finite. See, I just saw that just from a clip on CNN or on Fox News or on NBC or on CBS. Most likely, but in other words, he was speaking about the finite. And he just skipped over, we're not going to be afforded the finite. On a mass scale, when people speak for positive or negative, they pick out what they call virtues. Because they are in collusion with misprision what needs as a criminal insidious nature of identity, which has all the identities of its body of identity as an identity of negative value nature progression. that is maintained self-value as modern nations, as victims, each individual group and together, each position of the human fact-achieving nature, including the most powerful person, only allowed to be on top of power in relationship to all locations, areas, and states, self-valued, criminally foreign influenced. That forced to be self-valued for reasons on a mass scale. We're locked into, like, no one's growing things for themselves. The people who are growing things for themselves, they have distinctly victims from the people with no means to grow anything by themselves. These are tactically denatured identity ground relationships to itself, to its value progression, value/value progression. Every computer is about this identity of value/value progression. That is in demonstration of how the identity of the body of forever is making more of its identity of volume. Why and how I don't refer to it as the identity of everything is because it's making more of everything from what is already more of it, which is its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. Distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously onto three bonded parts of itself. No, so please follow mandated law for Connecticut. Because the branches of government individually grouped in together, the New Britain Superior Court and other courts are involved with these Sullivan people. There's an officer named Hunter and other officers involved with wire crime methods of police departments, where their identities are employed, also individually grouped in together for worse than just election crimes, election location crimes, database involved organized crimes, natures of them, and from those locations further and further. So we have the courts in the background preventing mandated law distinctly and non-distinctly, with the police speaking through other people and sequence shifting. Since before the World Trade Center attack, I didn't know their names yet. There are people with the name Sullivan, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with foreign and domestic military families and military police and policing of shopping centers and roles with locations with hundreds of nations that are roles with a self-value on-off places they share. Roles with a breaching method that organized crime influences kept them needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite, active, progressive, lies in relationship to their identity thefts and frauds and worse than war crimes roles, and motivations actually, as breaching tools and breaching screens. For example, our side's roles with all those other nations that were involved with the World Trade Center. These are Hartford courts and the Britain courts that were involved with their investigators and investigations on off their locations with predicate acts and with a predicate acts delivery system method, intercities, from Wethersfield into branch, and as the ones recorded, confessed, demonstrated, and confirmed on off West Hartford locations with the New Britain Superior Court and the Hartford courts, and people on off the state prison offices, on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the campuses that train the prisons, and all the people that are tied to those locations. They are kept needing to hide with their family members roles with a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method. That is an identity organized crime method that has them simultaneously incapable of defending their treatments of positive and negative, which are simultaneously identity treatments, and of affording all that identity is simultaneously inherent, actively, and progressively capable of simultaneously. So they have multi-front types of identities as opinionators that are breaching screens, methods, weapons and tools and worse employed, and where and as and how it counts, fact cheaping nature wise. So we have things like success, shared by people who are successful, black and white, who are in collusion overtly with that, with which and as, with and as that, with and as all locations, areas, and states, and sciences, and database relationships, private and overt criminal enterprises that are recorded effectively, how maintained bonded by one. This is where recursion is about correlation. And correlation is an increasing identity of volume /S. I tell it best, brahcing. It gifts off things, no matter what, or goes. Forever. The value of that, which is increasingly too, as what bonds its perfection, which is its identity of relationship to positive and negative simultaneously, where one identity, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that is the phenomenon of what is manifest, exactly the same way, non-distinctly, between while as all things. And all things are distinctly, that's not true, because where and how it's what's making keeping that from being true is where and how all exceptions in nature are a demonstration of that being the same identity of truth at the same time anyway. Why and how the Old Testament begins the way it does is about how this is about the identity of the algorithm that correlation nature is as identity. Identity is a value /value progression as a trinity. A circuit is not just Boolean logic is in relationship to where there are three discernible identities of volume that are bonded distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously by what is increasing them as identity of volume, as value, as nature /nature as value, in relationship to the increasing identity of volume, of value, that the identity of forever's body is. That which is more than just existence, because it is making more identities, plural, of existence, as existence, of and as its one identity of forever's body, per science. Per science that we are actually capable of prevented free speech, because we are prevented seqeunce true. See, because the courts bring people before the courts, because they already have with the leaderships of the hierarchies of the prisons tied to them. People on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the state prison offices, who are already recorded and involved with child campuses, while simultaneously having been involved with on off the adult campuses and all natures of campuses, including medical campuses, where how they are exploiting anomaly with the layers of databases involved organized crime, where and how where we are fact-cheaping nature. So the courts have been preventing mandated law and covering up their predicate acts and cases against American citizens with other nations and against their own fake sides. They're only the defenses of here and there. How self-valued are bonded uses of so many natures of organized crime self-valued because everyone's victims that blamed on other things other than themselves, what prevented American history and our founders' identities not in a stolen state from having voice through our correlation nature, through our voices. What did and does that and keeps that the outcome needs to have everyone pretending not to realize that, pretending to be about other offensively. So they have, not by accident, self-valued all takes on positive and on negative simultaneously. Fake. Simultaneously manifest styles of pretending that they have sound logic in relationship to that can't afford discernment of their premises treatments and or discernment of the criminally foreign influenced scientific processes and scientific consensus recorded, maintained, effectively breaching methods self-valued, employed self-valued collusion against every individual group and together, especially the individual. That's where the equality comes from. From using free speech with sequence true. So Wethersfield police have forging names and switching names with a whole bunch of East Hartford police and F.B.I. agents and their family members, CIA, their family members, people tied to them, different ways. I was a police chief years ago and one now with one of the houses /S on my street. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts with the databases at the campuses of each age I went to. I caught them also crimes with the principal child offenders campus, with the various natures of courts, judges and their family members, and prosecutors and their family members criminally involved. But you have to follow mandated law to have me demonstrate this to you. These are also the same people involved with World Trade Center predicate acts and with the method that exploited that, and how when we reveals this, it also reveals that and how where we had to take counters to things there are no means to peacefully counter, so they have what they call sanctions and legal treatments. But see, those are kept in collusion as fake sides, hundreds of nations at once, that are only defenses of treatments of positive and negative identity treatments that are perpetually incapable of defending that, and from what exploits all along every road, route, highway, tied to their roles with the vertical and horizontal database organized crime method that is from off all campuses, homeschool locations, further and further on off those locations, including homeschool, private, and public school kids, and then their family members of each age. That was recorded, is actually recorded, used for fake differences of correlation nature. So computers are all about identity, and identity's relationship to itself and the value of that, and the value/values of that increasing. And that is increasing as three identities of volume manifest individual, group, and together in relationship to how its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that is in relationship to its identity of, this is inseparable from all identities of value/value progression as a trinity. So a circuit is a trinity. It is three connected identities of value/value progression as temporary positive. If not, it is temporary/lasting positive or negative. This is what correlation nature is about, is what the soul longs to understand, because this is what the same identity of value/value progression is, that is native pure, that all things are at once actually is. It's a right to play out the abridged sciences, the abridged industries, abridged identity, the ground, locations, relationships to it as victims, but don't deny how originally instilled those victims reactions forced were our fact-cheating nature reactions also simultaneously employed as an engineering, as a breaching method, engineering roles, breaching screen, pretending to be other. You know, always going to have someone who is pretending not to realize by pretending passions and emotions. But recorded incapable of pretending that and having sequence true value. When we're talking, like when I talk about this Sullivan family, they're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by people associated with them and others with the name Sullivan, intercities through time, intercampuses, Central Connecticut State University. These are more people involved with the principal child offenders campus, with more people sexually, medically, and interbranch involved, attaching little kids to fake locations, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people, including female judges and prosecutors involved with this, with other branches of government too. These are various natures of police forms and a whole bunch of different cases where they had location crimes, where they're putting fake audio and video into databases. We have juries themselves originally instilled, delusions wrought. We have no one capable of speaking, of interpreting positive and negative properly, too many ways at once. Now they're also recording needing to debate this with the self-value, physical delusions, and criminally foreign influence precedence treatments, statute treatments, scientific process treatments. That's why that is so necessary to have any of this, have them address this out here. Because they use the locations interbranch to fabricate information and have everyone pretend other, not to realize it. Fabricate roles with the juries, with it recorded with sequence shifts, with cover-ups, because then they're defending their logic. They're as victims never given the ability to make treatments of logic properly. So they, in other words, they have the phrase the perfect world involved with the judicial branch and with the executive branch, with crime and part of their crime methods that are completely fact-cheating nature oriented. But they were and are extended from there to and as their roles with body dumping locations, legal and criminal, already having been used by them criminal since before the coronavirus. No. People associated with these identity ground locations, all of them, all identities of the law, as each of the identities of the sciences, the computer experts, the English arts experts, the identities of the law. They are each recorded uses of positive and negative and of identity criminally and with physical delusions. Now this is relevant. For example, this is manifest in relationship to how no one follows mandated law, how they're in the background pretending to perceive things. These are not just the people that made confessions. This is also actually recorded about their roles with the overt criminal enterprises. But this is in layers. So when they hear me say this now, the interbranch that influence that, they know then and now both themselves and those overt criminal enterprises were further criminally influenced by one they both share semi-nature roles with, but that completely self-valued by themselves. And that is how they are maintained, actually recorded uses of all investigations of investigators, in collusion with and as what can't defend itself /s, all the identities of the law, and afford a quality of fact-cheating nature actually capable of each age and each person of each location, area, and state. They needed and kept and keep a whole bunch of juxtaposed motivations, natures, needs, interests, and defenses of styles that are breaching screens, tools, and weapons worse than that employed. That's per science. So we have to have mandated law followed. So there are judges and prosecutors recorded with the prisons tied to them, where they have wire crime methods, where they're preventing people from free speech while interbranch, individually grouped and together, they've been stacking fake recorded audio and video on off their locations too, not just interbranch, but on off private locations, as roles with a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method. So it is simple to discern originally and still how we have delusions, wrought, and simultaneously criminally foreign influence, sick identities of the law with all locations, areas, and states. And we have these crime methods where the courts are pretending not to realize because they already were and are recorded, pretending fake recorded audio and video, are actually recorded crime methods where they just speak things into record criminally. Various natures of the same courts, like superior courts, intercities, criminally involved together, individually grouped, and other natures of courts, like the district courts, like probate courts, too, with the elderly, home, sickly. I was demonstrating, I told you guys, we're going to have more and more problems in relationship to the sick pathology, unacceptable, that they afford and pretend is only affordable, but as what they pretend is acceptable about the elderly homes. And what they call our experts in relationship to that. This is only what we could afford per logic that is criminally foreign influence, the delusions wrought. And that is simultaneously can't defend itself and afford discerned that which is actually recorded also, where and how these zoning laws and pathology of infrastructure, how it was employed since before our founding parents' births, as roles with that sickly distinctly in the north and in the south, with slavery here and there. In 1822, they were still slavering in Hartford, Connecticut, Wethersfield, Connecticut, the north, where George Washington had to come and leave slavery to secure even though we had the help of the French general, and this is where he had to come to secure it. So he had to leave sickly distinctly, what is also recorded sickly non-distinctly, by a breaching method, having been employed, sickly distinctly north and south, as a fact-cheating nature racketeering method, as an identity racketeering method, as an identity of value/value progression /S. Breaching method, worse than war crime, simple racketeering method, or simple organized crime method, rather. So the transition from ACA to RICO, from the Organized Crime Control Act to the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organization Act, and earlier takes on how to counter predicate acts, this predicate acts delivery system method. They were all recorded breaching method employed and breaching screen method employed. Rules, needs, and natures all juxtaposed. Employed to blame on other things other than themselves. The real causes of negative value nature, progressions, acts, and nature that every individual group and everyone has to react to. Until the Campus Marcius and the Republic for which we stand, once again, has the humanity that revealed it together using that system. That is the identity of value/value progression and its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that, which every computer question, every scientist question is really about. Individually grouped together. Every question/S is about this identity that is self-generated by making more temporary/lasting identities of forever nature. As the quality of diffusion we are as this identity of value/value progression. So it's all right if you want to say, oh, it's the perfect world's forsaken. But what are we going to do? We have to make positive or negative achievements in relation to what we have. Stay out of mandated law's way then. The Connecticut branches of government also recorded they stacked the names of people criminally involved with them for the time impositions of how they're getting over with using time too fast, too slow, to prevent people from long words and short words. We also have things that people will know are positive, like family, like friends. We have them using them as criminally foreign influence uses of them on a mass scale. Delusions, wrought uses of what friends and these are people making opinions about other people, sickly, original, interbranch. These are why they're sickly, pretending to be against things like bullying and stuff, because they're involved with identity thefts. And then they need to pretend that down the road it's becoming more and more of a problem. Their roles with all the fake things they put in databases. All the people in the background, forging names, switching names. Roles with identity thefts of a whole bunch of juxtaposed natures at once. Wethersfield Police, interbranch, the Britain Superior Court involved with fake Facebook pages pretending to be me. Fake YouTube pages pretending to be me. That's collusion with people that they don't even know. Like there's one that said UK, channel UK, and it's got some of my cartoons. I don't know if that's legitimately the YouTube spread, like trying to share me or some way that way, or if it's one of the other people. Like they also have one with a they made it a fake arrest. They did predicate acts to arrest me, so they could hide what is actually recorded by faking audio and video and switching sequences. And they did this with proven child offenders on the registry, one that had been proven already, the principal child offender, and more then and now. I was caught involved with him and with a house on my street, involved through time with prosecutors and with judges and with their family members, involved with predicate acts with databases, and then acting tied to that. Their uses of their lipoaggressions, their roles with predicate acts in cases against a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of natures of cases, foreign and domestic. This is also recorded all along the roads and routes and highways. This is what kept and keeps that going. So respond for them. Respond for Wethersfield Police and make sure, because these are also people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Heather Hansen confirmed. A whole bunch of people tied to Heather Hansen and people associated with her at Central Connecticut State University are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated in collusion with predicate act, with wrongdoing or predicate acts. With wrongdoing that is in relationship to predicate acts on off Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut, as the ones involved with the Brighton crimes and all the way along Church Street in Old Wethersfield, and all along Main Street where it touches Main Street, and all the way from there to through towns to CCSU. People are involved with them with database organized crimes. And then on and off Central Connecticut State University and Paul Manafort Drive. And Paul Manafort's name and person is recorded having been used criminally by the courts, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously by the other branches of government, and by overt criminal enterprises, and by foreign and domestic military, and by private criminal enterprises, and by all that sick with that, because there is also bonded by what is worse than that, keeping all, kept needing to hide the same. This is not hard to discern. For example, that's why and how strangers made confessions to me when I was in high school, and when they were influenced to do it when I walked by in the cafeteria, and I don't know their names. This is a crime method that makes no means for the person to counter, and when they do counter, the extent they counter is taken as a style manifest, needing to blame others themselves wrongly, because it's where, or needing to say nothing. And then they just, they're attaching everyone to fake words, fake audio and video, fake sequence relationships, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people, into database ties, and with the people interbranch preventing mandated law. And they have been doing this since before the World Trade Center attack. I asked for a response because Hartford and the Britain courts were involved with crimes on off some body dumping spots. And I found out more about it later, so now I can tell you what they were doing then. But those are the people in West Hartford and New Britain who are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the people interbranch from my town who were involved with predicate acts when I was a kid, with the databases. That is relevant to why and how strangers made confessions out of nowhere about their relationship to that location in West Hartford, near West Farms Mall. And with this, for example, there's a Justin Klavinskis, and a whole bunch of people tied to him. I barely know of him. I barely know him. A whole bunch of people tied to him with like a taekwondo place, with foreign and domestic families, with overt criminal enterprises from not just those nations, but other nations involved with them. Like a DeMoro family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with the taekwondo place, and with people on off the Wethersfield library involved with Wethersfield police through time, who are ones also involved with and as a Dillon family, who are involved with predicate acts with the databases of the kids' campuses and of all the ages and natures of campuses, as the people involved leading up to and in this 2006 case, with this picture I drew of the 2006 part of a case /X with former director of the F.B.I. and his defendant capacities, Robert Luskin, and with his lawyer, Robert Cheverie, and with federal criminal co-defendants of theirs, like a Thadius Grabowski, who are further involved then and now with predicate acts with Foxct Connecticut News, Intercities, on off Foxct Connecticut News, the buildings next to them, involved with them with wire crime acts, which are illusions. These are put in sequence shift roles with locations. Now, Foxct Connecticut News also has recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed predicate acts with people on off the state judicial branch offices. Roles with predicate acts that demonstrate, also confirmed, recorded, confessed, other natures of roles with other natures of predicate acts that a Fienza family has, with the interbranch police forms and judges and prosecutors criminally involved, and with the foreign overt criminal enterprises, killers, like a body dumping spot of Billy Grosso, also involved with this Fienza family, with the Dillon family, that is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by my new and past neighbors involved with them, with predicate acts on my street through time relevant, and as their roles with the witness protection programs ties to my street criminally, and their roles with intercities locations, as their roles through time with Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, with the Principal Child Defenders Campus, involved with families that are involved with juxtaposed natures of organized crime with the kids, not just sexual. And those sexual crime acts and roles with that were forced then and now, with them pretending others simultaneously. That's what's actually recorded before the Principal Child Defender was even caught off campus. Even if they made the whole thing up, they were recorded then and now with further natures of crimes against the boys and girls, even sexual, even female judges and prosecutors and state's attorneys. And they're actually recorded motivations, roles, natures, needs, interests with that. We have uses of every difference recorded, self-valued, criminally foreign influenced, and delusions wrought by the fact-shaping nature styles into branch. We will have our course. We'll have correlation natures, identities course. Now this is a relationship to sorting. This is how the mind works. You take the elements of what input is what they call data. Then they extend the space identity of relationship to itself. Space/existence is a trinity of relationships to itself, which is bigger than this and less than it, making more of it through what is bigger than that, less than, which is its identity, and the identity of relationship to itself, which is complete volumes, complete, but identity of relationship to itself as a trinity, but we are inside this trinity as a little trinity, making more little trinities of that one identity of volumes, identity of relationship to self. Once released from the body, which is temporary positive to make, more temporary or lasting, temporary/lasting positive or negative, as what is already automatically the perfect world, temporary positive. See, we have to have free speech. We have to have mandated law followed. And we have to have these identity racketeering natures and victim-predator roles with it, making opinions that are in the way of logic with no logic style that is not criminally foreign influenced in delusions wrought, that is not self-valuing uses of the identities of the sciences abridged in that self-value, simultaneously fake positive while they're making opinions about others and others. Sickly. We have interbranch, inter-sciences. Journalism are sick with other people's names. They're pretending passions and emotions to be against people criminally. Oh, they said this on Facebook. They left out the sequence shifts. They left out how Facebook could be and was used to record them having been used at Facebook to get over on kids with child offenders. These are also the people interbranch. They use Senate and record. In other words, they know they are involved with this stuff. They are sick, backed into uses of the perfect world since they were little kids interbranch. Each identity of job. Sick. It's all right. They want to pretend other. Then pick a name and sequence. That's why we're simultaneously they've been forging names and switching names, because this keeps. Then they can just keep everyone making allegations against people. That's why they're not supposed to be dealing with allegations. They have to pretend to be against that, so they offensively make mistakes with uses of allegations criminally, sickly. Then they defend that. They need to hide from those bodies of correlation nature while they are in prison, while they are outside of courts. They have to keep gag orders recorded, used to effectively breaching method employed to keep free speech, because they've been using the rights to life for legitimate reasons to hide their illegitimate reasons kept effectively. They have words like for example, they have physical delusions and criminally foreign influence premises treatments when they make opinions of what about empathy is about. And so follow mandated law for interbranch Connecticut and all the private people tied to them. They've been exploiting anomaly with the databases and an anomaly with which was already to all locations, knowing that they were going to have to hide from and hurt and value hurt correlation nature relationship to this. Also, houses around the Samuel Dix house and on and off the Wethersfield high school and middle school and the child campuses, they sickly distinctly, but also sickly non-distinctly are recorded involved as victim reactions to this breaching organized crime method, forced not told on by the interbranch. Now this is how they had roles and motivations with the worst natures of criminals and body dumping spots and natures of crimes they simultaneously need to pretend to be against. They're keeping a lot bad happening and having happened. We'll examine their roles recorded with their family members and associations with them, with the North End of Hartford and with New Haven and with the shootings, even if made up because they were recorded. That's enough evidence anyway. What is recorded and reported through them. So follow mandated law for them. They're recorded needing to pretend passions and emotions with physical delusions to deny this. Get me from the fake words that WFSB and that Foxct Connecticut News pretended. There are also a whole bunch of people associated with the Samuel Dix house that are involved with a Casper family and with people associated with them with identity thefts, fake conversations with me, and their roles with drug crimes with kids, and with the child sex offenders, and with houses also around the Samuel Dix house, a number of identities of the ground relationships to itself, like a Delafair family is involved with sexual crimes with the kids with judges and with prosecutors and with state's attorneys and identity thefts. I never had a class with those De La Fera families. They're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a schedule family and with generals and such, with the Connecticut National Guard, and with their treatments of words / values like friends, friendship, and families criminally, with their treatments of positive and negative criminally.